Welcome back to another episode of Inside of Her C-Suite. I'm Timothy Maurice, and this show is sort of dedicated to women leaders, entrepreneurs, executive influencers who are shaping Africa. And today we have a special episode inside of the C-Suite for real with Kalyani Pillay, an extraordinary leader who has sort of a legal background. Let's have a chat now. Kalyani, welcome to Inside Her C-Suite.
Hi, Timothy.
Thank you so much for it. You know, your background, people think of lawyers as serious. Like, we think of you guys as people are scared of. Was there ever a moment when you realized that people are scared of you?
Not at all. In fact, if anything, I always say to any team that I lead or anybody that I'm with, I always say to them, I think I failed horribly if anybody's afraid of me. You know,
wow.
I think I would rather have the respect than instill fear in anybody. So
if we look back at your journey from when you were a young teenager, sort of running around, to your time as a CEO of Sabric, you know, what I want to get to is that moment where you realize that I could be a leader. I may not scare people, but I can inspire people. When was that moment when you realized I'm actually a leader?
I suppose it sort of started very early on. Being in school, I sort of always ended up heading the team, leading the debating team, being the head prefect. I remember in the early days, and of course I was in school during the apartheid time. So, you know, we were nominated to represent our schools, and white schools had one per school, but the Indian schools, because then it was African, Indian, colored, the Indian schools had to have go through a process of where we had to have two from every school go through a selection, and one person gets nominated or elected to represent all the schools. And I had gone through, my school had obviously put me up, and I had gone, and then I got selected and then represented all the Indian schools in Pietermaritzburg in the year that I was in what is grade 11 now. So I suppose it sort of started off then where you start to realize.
Build slowly but surely.
Yes, and then, you know, in school, university holiday jobs, I ended up leading the team of all the holiday workers. So you sort of baby steps along the way, and I think I didn't feel uncomfortable in those positions. It was just being part of the team, but just having to direct people a little bit. Yeah.
Now, growing up, did you know you wanted to study law? Did your family force you to study law? Did you want to be a painter? Like, what was your background?
You know, I think I wanted to study law for a long time. It always sounded so sexy to be a lawyer. You'd watch all these TV programs.
Get
and
to dress
LA
beautiful,
law,
powerful.
LA law, that kind
Sure.
of thing. Of course, it's not like that in reality. you learn pretty soon. But yes, I always had an interest in it. And of course, when I started first year, 6 months down the line, I thought to myself, what a horrible mistake I made.
Oh,
Picked up the
really?
phone. I was in university in another town, picked up the phone and said to my dad, I hate this. I want to go home. I want to be something else. And when I get home and have a chat with the family, and they're all so worried now, what's going on? And I remember my dad asking me, well, what do you want to be? And I had no pressure from my parents to choose. You know, I was completely left to do that myself. And I said, I can't understand why. I still, to this day, can't understand why I said this. I said, I think I want to be a physiotherapist. Just out of the blue.
Really?
I think it was just sort of venting and trying to justify why I said I didn't want to study law. But of course, I had very supportive parents. I stayed home the holiday. It was holiday time, fortunately. And the minute the holiday was over, I was bored and I wanted to go back. And of course, I went back and didn't look back again.
Oh,
so
wow.
I suppose everybody has those experiences.
Sure,
yeah.
sure. The position you're in now is a very powerful position for a lot of reasons. You know, the banking industry in South Africa is one of the best in the entire world. And essentially, on some levels, Sabric helps ensure that it remains on top. What do you enjoy about being the CEO of Sabric?
Oh, I absolutely love it. I think the passion behind it is the fact that we have the ability to empower people. And that's what it is about, empowering South Africans and also visitors to the country. One of our key mandates, we do have others as well, but one of our key mandates is to create awareness amongst South African banking community about the different modus operandi, the different crimes that are perpetrated, where they become victims. And you know, unfortunately, most often the people, no one wants to lose money, but the people who can least afford to lose money often become the victims. And through our work and through creating this public awareness, we're able to empower people, teach them all the time, because we all know that criminals move so fast in terms of how they operate. The minute you close a gap, they're ready with the next one, and they carry on. And of course, with the age that we live in now, everybody's on their smart devices, everybody's on their laptops, on their tablets, and that we don't know how to communicate any other way these days.
Are you seeing any trends, or is there anything that you observe in your industry that's growing to a point where it's becoming a big thing that people need to watch out for?
I think that one of the biggest concerns that we have now is the theft of personal information. You know, the criminal syndicates do everything they can to get access to data, to get access to your data, everything about you, and hopefully in that way will be able to compromise your information and obtain your bank logging information. And how would they do that? Because you tell it to them. You give it to them unknowingly. So it's all about social engineering.
I see.
What they do is that they play on your emotions. So let me give you an example. You get an email purporting to come from your bank, right? So what they harvest bulk email addresses, because people say, well, only my bank has that information. No, it's not true. We put our email addresses in 100 and 200 places. They harvest all that information. They create these websites, and from it they send out these emails. Now, if you are a client of Bank A, they would send out emails to everybody, hoping that in that lot there's a fair amount of people who bank with Bank A. Obviously, those that don't will just ignore the email. But now here you get this email purporting to come from your bank, and what it says is, we confirm the deposit was made into your bank account this morning. Should you require further details, please click on the proof attached below. Now, as human beings, we all want to know who put money into our bank account. So here we go, click, click, click. And what that actually does is that it loads malware onto your device. And that malware replicates everything that you're doing on there. It sends it to the criminal. So when you go onto your bank's website and you're doing online banking, password, username goes to your bank, but it goes to them.
Is there a website we can go to quickly before we go back to your story that people can go on and get a bit of these details?
Absolutely. www.sabric.co.za. But also, I think what's really great is people follow us on Twitter,
yes.
Sabric ZA, or at Sabric, and then our Facebook page. You know, if you like it, you can be getting all, we populate continuously all the latest modus operandi, all the different scams.
Sure.
We have videos there that people could watch and protect themselves.
Just, I want to go back to you quickly. We've got a couple minutes left, but you are a leader in a male-dominated industry. You know, playing in this sort of old boys club, what are some tips you have for young women who dream of being at the top, dealing in this old boys club? How do you navigate that space?
Well, look, I must say it certainly has been changing, but yes, you are right. It very often it is predominantly male, but it's nice to see the changes that are coming in. I think what I would like to say to young, up-and-coming, aspiring leaders is, you know, be very confident about who you are and what your vision is and what your strategy is. You don't need to feel insecure around in a room full of men, because you know you can hold your own. You're not there because somebody just thought you looked great and that's why they put you there. You're there because you have value to add and because you have what it takes to be in that position. So I think, you know, for one, don't allow that environment to change who you are and what you're capable of doing. I think that's really important. I think also it's very important to listen. You know, sometimes I think as women we tend to want to make a judgment quickly. I think rather, you know, listen, don't get emotional about anything. I've taught myself over the years, and I've certainly taught a lot of other young people, don't respond when you're emotional. Take a deep breath, rather respond tomorrow if you have to. But of course, sometimes you're in a meeting and you need to. So just think about it before you actually do anything. And also, I think very importantly, don't take anything personally. If you're able to look beyond what the issue is, forget about how you're feeling about it at that moment, unless it's an absolute, direct, clear attack on you as a person. Otherwise, don't take an issue personally. Look at it from the point of view of this is what the issue is. That's what the important thing is, you know. And I think these are the little things you learn along the way. And of course, experience is the great teacher. And you always, hindsight, of course, teaches you a whole lot as well. So looking back on it, you know, learn from lessons. It's okay to make a mistake. It's really not a problem. We're all human beings. We all make mistakes. But of course, we shouldn't continue to make the same mistakes. We learn from it, we move on, and we try to do better all the time.
Well, thank you for the wonderful leadership work you're doing in this space. I know that it makes a massive difference, and I feel more secure in knowing that, you know, we can be educated to really sort of protect ourselves. So I really appreciate you joining us on Inside of Her C-Suite.
An absolute pleasure,
Awesome.
Timothy.
Join us next week as we go inside of another C-suite of an influential, powerful woman who's shaping the future of South Africa and Africa as a whole.